If your company doesn't have a skill strategy in place, you are going to lose the talent war. You're going to have a harder time attracting talent, retaining talent, and building talent within your organization so that you can be successful. In this video, I'm going to walk through a simple way that you can get started on developing a skill strategy for your organization so it doesn't seem as overwhelming. If this is your first time on the channel, my name's Matt Chertsen, and I'm the founder of Better Everyday Studios, a learning and development consultancy focused on helping small organizations have a bigger impact through employee training. I'm a former instructor pilot in the US Air Force, and then I led training and development for SpaceX. Let's get started. The first thing we need to do is define really what skills are. And so when I say skills, really all I'm talking about is the things that people do every single day in order to be successful at their job. They can be kind of confusing because people have a lot of different definitions, but I think that's the most basic way to think about it. What are the things that are essential for any job? Those are the skills that people have. When organizations start to roll out a skill strategy, they usually fall into some common pitfalls. The first is that the initial definition of the skills simply takes too long because they're trying to define every skill in the organization. Now, I've worked at 2 different organizations that tried to do this, and I'm serious when I say they spent over a year just trying to define skills. They met with every director, maybe every manager in the company, talk about what were the roles within the organization or their teams, what were the skills that they had, cross-referencing those skills with different parts of the business. It's all important work, don't get me wrong, but it took so long that the whole thing really lost a lot of momentum. The second thing that often goes wrong is that organizations start to drown in skills, because if you go out to some third-party software in order to get skills, get a skills library, often they will tout that they have 80,000 skills, 100,000 skills, maybe even 200,000 skills, which is just way too much for anybody to really do anything with. And so when you put those 2 things together, where you try to define every single skill in the organization, and then you have hundreds of thousands of skills, you wind up where any particular job in the company might be associated with 70, 80, or 100 different skills, and then nobody can really do anything with it. So not only does the whole thing lose steam, but it's so complicated that there's just no real action that anybody can take. And so there's no impact that this massive effort has on the business. And so there's a simpler way to get through this. If you want to get started quickly with a skill strategy in your organization, here's what I want you to do. I want you to start off by just identifying the 1 to 3 most common roles throughout your organization. Now, this isn't going to solve all of your problems, but it just helps limit the scope of what you are talking about. And in a lot of organizations, that's going to be a big chunk of your business. By defining just 1 to 3 roles and worrying about those first, you might take care of anywhere between 20 and 50% of your organization. So rather than worrying about all the outliers, just focus again on the 1 to 3 most common roles. Then for each one of those roles, I want you to define 3 to 5 skills. And that's it. What are the 3 to 5 things that are most important for each one of these roles? Once you do that, you now have a list of between 3 and 15 skills, which is really discrete and really easy to start to work with. And you can get through that definition process a whole lot faster because you're not worrying about every part of the business. You're not trying to define absolutely everything you do, but you now have an actionable list of things that you can do, and now you can go have an impact in the organization. And there's 2 really simple ways to start. First is to take that list of skills and start applying it to your hiring process. Go train your recruiting team on how to judge these particular skills, train the hiring managers for what to look for, what questions to ask, and now you can ensure that your hiring process is looking at the specific skills necessary to be impactful and effective in a given role. And it's going to dramatically change the way you can hire and the quality of the hires that you make. Next, you can go to the learning development team and use these skills as a roadmap for your content development strategy. You should only be getting content, whether it's creating it internally or sourcing it externally. You should only be looking for content that's going to support these skills, because these are the skills that people need to know. So how do you create content? How do you create learning programs that will support these skills? That way you can get rid of all the other fluff because you know what to look for. You know what it takes to make the organization effective. And so now you can focus everything on that. I get it. A skill strategy can seem really daunting. And if I'm honest, I think the learning and development industry tries to make it sound daunting. They want to make it so that you have to go out and find an external resource, a consultant, buy some software, do some magic tricks that you don't know inside the company. You have to bring in some help from outside because it's such a daunting task. But it doesn't need to be. If you start small, really limit the scope of what you are trying to do, then you can immediately take those skills, have an impact, and change the way your organization works. And so now you have this iterative process that maybe you can go through in a couple of months and then rerun with the next set of positions and then the next set of positions. And every single time, you're going to learn something about your organization and how to run this skill strategizing process so that every time it gets faster and better. And then probably, very likely, by the time you've defined every role, you just kind of start again, go back to the beginning and refine everything. The point is that developing a skill strategy for the entire company is going to take a lot of work. And so the way you want to make sure that it's going to be effective for the long term is by trying to have impact as fast as possible. And the way to do that is to narrow the scope to just 1 to 3 roles and 3 to 5 skills so that you can take that information and put it to good use. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, I would really love it if you would like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you next time.